Welcome everybody to the Golden Bay Community Board meeting for October. As we begin, we will begin as always with our opening whakakia. And we have Mātua Eri with us in the room. So Mātua Eri, if you would like to take karakia.
Mihi kia ko ki Chris o ka mana tena wa ki representative and mihi nui ki a ko from kariki kani matu kani nui aran kani patu pakaro pamato ali wiki te matu na tera o whaki iri te whānga māma sa ko te tiki mai taranga na ko te wanga na you could put it over and ko te tata now how dai
Thank you. We have some extra welcomes today. Welcome to Elaine and Kelsey from Democracy Services. Thank you for coming over and stepping in to support our meeting. And we have Kim Drummond zooming in with us today, and we have Hazel from the Youth Council. Welcome. And we have Aliana. Excellent. Welcome guys, it's great to have you around the table. Okay, so any apologies today? Looks like we are all here. Any leave of absences? I have one. I do have to skirt away at 2:45 over meeting. I wasn't able to reschedule at school, so hopefully we'll not be too far away from finishing by that stage. But all those in favour of the leave of absence being granted? Right. Great. Thank you. Yeah, can I have a second?
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. This is. Come sit here. All right. Okay. So all those in favour. So that was moved by me, seconded by Grant. Sorry, Elaine. It's okay. Okay. So public forum today. We have got 2 speakers today. Is Judy in the waiting room? No, okay. So Judy may not be able to join us, but we'll just see. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. My turn.
Your turn. Come on up.
Okay, I'll just stand over here.
Yeah, absolutely. Wherever you're most comfortable.
See everybody. Well, I've just got a little comment called Newsline, the word and the line. A thought on the Golden Bay Community Board's column at issue number 551, addressing the stock co-governance meeting. It's just one little word, I tell myself. If I can get just one little word down, then I'll get another. And if I keep going and following each word, I'll have enough words to make a whole line, then 2 lines, and then maybe those lines will make a story, and maybe that story will hold my thoughts. And if you read the story, you may get to know what I'm thinking, will begin to understand me, and maybe hear what I want to say. So, to the word and the line, the news line. 556 of them to be exact. I wrote number 1 way back in 1991, and every one of them for the next 25 years. A little paper, a child of the revolution that sought to bring together all the communities of our wide and diverse region. Newsline, a vehicle to engage us all in an ongoing conversation regarding our needs and services. Newsline, a news source. Not the one source of news, of course, but a source of news. And not an opinion piece either, especially not in a rates-funded publication whose mandate is to represent the whole community. Opinions. It's been said we all have them. Just gather at the Musselin on a Friday evening and listen to the banter, back and forth. You'll hear more than a few. Some holding court louder than others, some articulated with intelligence and thought, others more spur of the moment utterances lubricated by a Captain Cook or 2. But nevertheless, each opinion is given space, and in that space, the counter opinion can be heard and examined at length by the fireside community. Sometimes it is not easy to write a word that unites and doesn't divide. That's the art of leadership, I guess, being neutral, to unite a diverse community, to create a cohesive whole. A whole that is made up of the broad spectrum of thought, beliefs, and attitudes. A shepherd tends to wander among the sheep, gets to know their thoughts and beliefs and attitudes. Sometimes our leaders don't know who we are, Sometimes those leaders don't lead, they push. And sometimes the people don't want to be pushed. And even sometimes they don't want to be led. Don't follow leaders. Watch the parking meters. Bob Dylan said that. And no conversation is complete without a line from the man. I'm not sure of the connection between leaders and parking meters apart from the rhyme, but I guess we don't need to worry about that because we don't have parking meters in Golden Bay. To address an issue with a word, with a line, of personal or group opinion is to divide a community and to split a country. To use Newsline to voice an opinion upon the community could be deemed to be poor leadership at its best. An opinion that has not been formulated from community survey or referendum, those classic tools of democracy, does not represent a community pulling together. Here's the plea. Any opinion spoken in the community's name must represent them, and it must represent me. And as an aside, the column in Newsline number 551 raises the question of Newsline's editorial oversight. Who let that go through? Said it must have overstepped Newsline. So let me say, the issue is not the issue. That is to say, the issue that the Golden Bay Community Board addressed in Newsline 551 is not the issue. In making it the issue, it overlooked the issue. And the issue, may I suggest, is the manner by which the issue was addressed. Opinionated, in my opinion, and one-sided. The tone was dictatorial, speaking down to those other opinions and those other voices. And like many of the bedtime narratives we have become accustomed to over the past couple of years, these manners employ scaremongering and partial truths. I am wondering, isn't that we need to be told what to think? Is someone somewhere afraid that we may think for ourselves? Human beings are reasonably intelligent. No one's to be called names or shouted at or to be kept safe. I don't think the Newsline platform was intended to extol such things. Not one line or even one little word. Well, the one word and the other word and the first line and all the lines that followed got together by the end. Thank you for listening, each one of you. Go about your business of providing the best services and facilities possible. Make us all proud of Golden Bay and Mo'olua, and make us proud of the representation you provide for each of us. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate your time today. No Jude? No Judy? Okay. All right, so that brings us to the end of our public forum. Did anybody have any declarations of interest regarding this agenda for this? No, sure. All right, excellent. Okay, so we're moving on to confirm the minutes from the 11th of September. Has everybody had a chance to go through them? Would somebody like to move that they be accepted? Right, moved by Grant, seconded by Henry. All those in favour? Aye. Great. Minutes passed as true and correct. No late items today, so that moves us into our first presentation from Beans. So welcome, so welcome to Darren and what was, sorry, Dot. Welcome to Karen and Dot. Sorry, I should have been mentioned you guys. Welcome.
And Eddie's here to Ahiva.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Brilliant. So you've got a PowerPoint for it?
Yeah, that's right.
Lovely.
Tēnā koutou. I'm no whanganui a tara ahau, ko Darren Crawford ahau, you can call me Daggy. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. And also kia ora mihi Eddie for tai tōpū with us. So today I just want to talk about the upcoming wildfire season, the sort of implications that it might lead to, and the kinds of mitigations that communities can look at to minimise their risk from being impacted by wildfire. And also talk sort of more specifically about an initiative we're doing locally here with Te Waikato Kupu Springs. So feel free to sing out if you have any questions. So basically the last sort of summers have been, as you all know, quite wet. So we're having a bit of a change that we're quite nervous about. So we're going into a El Nino phase, which has already started here, and that's sort of been signified by these cold southerlies coming through, which will start change to drier, warmer temperatures. The preliminary predictions say that they're going to persist into spring and strengthen to become strong El Nino by summer. And to put that into perspective, the Pigeon Valley fire we had in 2019 was a weak El Nino weather pattern. So we've kind of got cause to be reasonably concerned. So we use a thing called build-up index that tells us what the availability of fuel's like in our district. And we classify an extreme fire danger status at about a BUI of 80. Pigeon Valley was 140. So we don't know what this season's going to bring, but we know it's going to be up around that kind of those kind of values. The kind of natural factors that affect fire behaviour, so aspect, so places that face north, for example, the sort of high risk vegetation like gorse, tussock, any rank grass, manuka and karnuka, pines, all of that sort of stuff are all what we call high volatility plant species. Altitude, so how high it is, the direction of the wind, so your prevailing winds, your drying winds, and they also impact a fire, of course, by setting its direction. The classifications of fuels and the combinations of them. So a nice mix of fine, medium and solid fuels is a great recipe for fire, and pretty much every kind of wildfire, road frontage, all of that kind of stuff, particularly wasteland, is often a great combination of those things. And also we've got communities living right in amongst those environments, so there's some quite risky and challenging living scenarios. The fuel layering, the topography of gullies, so fire spreads quicker up a gully, for example, fire spreads faster up a hill because it's able to preheat the material ahead of it because the heat rises, etc. So all of these things combine to exaggerate our fire behaviour models. In the top of the South Te Tauihu, we've got a significant number of places that pretty much have all of these criteria in them. So we're just targeting communities and asking them to be aware and take on some mitigations. The human factors that influence fire behaviour. So the three main causes of fire are men, women and children. So we have about, I think we've had about 4 fires that have been caused by natural causes. So that's usually lightning in the last decade. So it's not a common phenomena here like you do see in other countries like Australia and Canada, for example, British Columbia. Spark introduction. So we're asking communities to start thinking about what times of the day they take on these activities. So we're asking agricultural contractors and roadside contractors and farmers, people just doing their general landscape around their own properties, mowing their own lawns, using a weed eater, scrub cutters, stuff like that, to consider the time of day you do it. So factor fire into your thought equations. So the best time to do those activities is either early in the morning or later in the evening when the humidity rises. So we're encouraging people just to have to think about that. With the council, you're quite a big employer of roadside contractors, etc. So it'd be really helpful if they were made aware of this kind of information. And they can easily apply to us to get the daily broadcast about spark hazard awareness. So it gives them some really clear data. It's very easy to read. It's just colour-coded, so they can sort of say, well, I'm not going to do that activity between 10 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, or wherever it may be. And lack of defensible spaces around properties. So we all love to live amongst the bush, and we all love the manuka growing right up alongside our house, but it's actually really challenging in a wildfire. So we're encouraging people to think about defensible spaces. And from a council influence perspective, we've got some sort of concerns coming down the line that we're not sure where they're going to lead, and that's around the SNA. So the significant natural areas, because theoretically they draw a line around your house and everything else is an SNA, and that means that you can't clear defensible spaces without resource consent, etc. So it might just be something that the council could puzzle over. And poor maintenance of property, so things like leaves in the spouting, people leaving firewood hard up against the house, combustibles, things like even bark chips can be quite troublesome in fire scenarios because they lift up and take off and start fires elsewhere. The tools that are available us to sort of support the community and to reduce the risk basically fall into two categories. There's our public education category, which is what we're doing now. And then there's our kind of rubber stamping and more compliance side of the business. So the compliance side in the wildfire space looks at things like the build-up index. So we're monitoring grass curing, etc. So we get notifications about that. We decide our fire season status, so we might make it a prohibited or fire season when the indexes start rising. We can send out a spark hazard generation, and we can also fire behaviour model. So this model here is split apple rock. So it's quite a challenging community. There's 32 houses that live nestled in amongst the bush. It's north facing, it's sea breeze. It's only one way in and out. Every house is up kind of a long driveway covered in bush. So we did some modelling on this, and the modelling came out pretty much that within an hour of a fire start on an extreme fire day. Now the inputs we put into this were quite moderate, so it was a run-of-the-mill extreme fire day. It wasn't off the charts. If a fire started at 1 p.m, by 2 p.m, it's going to be 502 hectares. And by early evening, so 6 o'clock news time, it's up around 8,300 hectares. So just to put that in context, that's without any suppression, and we always do some suppression, of course. It's kind of our gig, but we prioritise evacuation over suppression. So you can imagine how challenging it would be to evacuate an area like that. And when we talk about evacuations in a tabletop context, we tend to brush over it quite quickly and say, well, we've evacuated that whole area, but actually that's a big piece of work. So we take the evacuation side of it quite carefully. And we're looking at helping communities that are vulnerable to wildfire have evacuation plans. We can't tell people where to go and what to do. And the reason we can't do that is because we don't know where it's going to start and what direction it's going to travel. But what we can do is ask people to consider their own situation and the situations of whānau in the neighbourhood that might struggle with medical issues, mobility, stuff like that. So have a plan to keep yourself safe. So the public education side of our business, we did the Golden Bay AMP show over here. We come and do the whānau fun days from Te Kotahi Trust. We're pretty active in our community. Our brigades are out there all the time. But now that we're getting into this wildfire space, you'll see all of our efforts sort of being put into keeping the public aware of the risk. The Pigeon Valley fire is a good example of what we don't want to see. So it destroyed 2,500 hectares roughly. It took about a month to put out, and it cost us around 13 to 15 million bucks. We had another fire at the same time as Pigeon Valley over at the back of Nelson, and the fire modelling for that was predicted to take it right through to Pelorus River, Pelorus Bridge. So that would have been a bigger fire than Pigeon Valley. The only reason we were able to put that out and stop it getting to that state was that we had 22 aircraft in the area fighting Pigeon Valley, so we could divert assets straight away. That wouldn't be a luxury we normally have. So we're pretty fortunate we got out of jail quite free there. And we're seeing fires because of the type of changes in our climatic conditions. We're seeing fires in a whole different way. We're getting more intense fires. We're getting more of them. We're even fighting fires in the snow now, which we've never ever heard of or seen before. We had Lake Oho, which was a fire that destroyed 48 homes. And the only reason nobody died in that fire, anecdotally, is because they had a community evacuation plan that they initiated themselves. So as soon as somebody saw it, they raised the siren and everybody got out. The international studies are saying that we're going to see a lot more of this stuff, and what communities are also going to see is concurrent events. So we're going to be trying to recover from one, and then we're going to get slammed by another. A good example of that as a potential would be Tairāwhiti and Hawke's Bay. They've just come out of the back of a devastating cyclone. It doesn't mean that they get immunity from a wildfire. Yeah. Nelson, Tasman has a significant wildfire risk. We've got pockets of vegetation that people live really close by. We've got massive amounts of forestry. So they're obviously quite nervous. And these fires can start just by someone riding a motorbike, someone using a chainsaw, someone Pigeon Valley was started by someone disking a paddock. And the disc created a spark on a rock which started that fire. So we're just really thinking carefully about the next 2 summers. So this is the Pigeon Valley fire start here. So you can see just in a matter of minutes, you can't put it out. So it's just over the back of the hill and gone in no time. And it was pretty much out of sight by the time the trucks got there. That's Lake Oho there. So 50, yeah, I think it was 48 or 50 homes destroyed. That was started by power lines arcing. And of course it was over Department of Conservation land. So with that land, you can't mow it or graze it. So there was quite long grass which caught, and it was a really windy night, and it just took off. And they had no early warning, so it took a lot. That fire was burning for a long time before anyone really picked it up, and that's one of the real challenges that I'll get to later. So Lake Rotowiti is actually a really good example of a community that's sort of quite wise about this fire safe initiative stuff. What they've done is they've got about 120 houses in Lake Rotowiti, but the challenge for them is that a lot of them are holiday homes, and you'll get that sort of thing over here as well. So it's really difficult to engage with non-resident populations of your community. So we use cunning ways to get into those scenarios, like we have an evacuation plan, and the people that go and do the batch care kind of stuff, do the cleaning, etc., they go and stick with them on the fridge for us. They had a good relationship around DOC, so they did a lot of education with the community around defensible spaces and low flammability plants. And so many, well, 80, are well underway of removing sort of the Manuka and Kanuka and replacing them with low flammability native plant species that are endemic to that area. So that's really positive. And they've also created, in conjunction with DOC, a green break, which is what we're proposing for Te Wara Koropupu Springs. And a green break, obviously on conservation land, you can't just go and fell it down to mineral worth to create a fire break. But what you can do is diminish the amount of high flammability plant species and replace them with lower flammability plants so that it slows the intensity and spread of fire and gives us a chance to get there and put it out. So they've done a massive big green break there, which I think is a terrific solution. It's one of many, so it's not the be all and end all, but alongside a lot of other activities, it's quite helpful. We've got a good relationship with DOC there, and one of the sort of main areas of concern is teetotal campsite. So it's got long rank grass everywhere. It's upwind of the town, so the prevailing wind will most certainly take a fire to the town, so that's where the green break comes in. They can't mow it because it's too rocky. They can't graze it because A, it's conservation land, and B, it lacks so much nutrition that the animals lose weight. So the farmers have said we just can't do that, animal health thing. So really it's about working with what we've got. And so DOC's quite comfortable with closing the campsite down to more manageable sizes as the fire indices start to rise, and close it entirely if there's an issue. We've also got information on the DOC websites when people go to get their ticketing for huts that warn them, particularly about Mount Robert, that there's a fire risk, and just be really, if you see smoke, get out of there as fast as you can because it'll trigger quick. And they had an initiative where when they cut out all this Manuka and Kanuka, they had nowhere to put it. So a local farmer had a really suitable site to have a burn, so they had a collective burn. And the community paid a koha to the farmer, and then that ended up going into buying a wood chipper for the community so that they could use the wood chipper as a land management tool instead of looking at fire to do it all the time. So just discouraging people away from, piling it up and setting fire to it. And then they got sponsored metal ash buckets for storage of fireplace ash, brazier ash, all that sort of stuff. We've had a lot of fires in our district because people put it in a plastic bucket and sit it on the deck, that sort of thing. So we've just got 3,800 10-litre metal buckets donated by Resine Paint that are going to be circulating around the community. So I'd be very disappointed if every one of you that has a solid fuel fire didn't end up with one of those. Evacuation plans are critical in these wildfire interface zones. So we're working with communities to develop these, and we want them to be consistent through the motu. So we're quite keen to see not only an evacuation plan, they'll be specific to your area, but there's some general information. But you'll see that a lot of the messaging is quite consistent with civil defence. And at the moment, civil defence, Nelson Marlborough, Nelson Tasman have just released their packages of community readiness tools for preparation for natural disasters. They're actually a really good resource. And I'd encourage that if you were going to go down that road and your community was going to get proactive and start filling in these documents, then include us in there if you think it's a wildfire risk, because we can match an evacuation plan for the community and work with them about how to challenge their risk. I've just come back, did a stint up at Gabriel with going into these isolated communities and working with them to get back on their feet. And it was noticeable that the communities that done preparation, they responded a lot quicker. So if they had a plan, if they had documentation, if they knew the phone numbers of vets and doctors and whatever else, they were a lot more prepared. They had key figures in the community that were the go-to people. So I'd really recommend that you start looking at your communities and your pockets and challenging them to start filling in those templates. So I can leave you with an email address that'll link straight to the person that will support you through that.
Great.
Access is always a problem for us. We need 4 metres by 4 metres because we have to turn corners sometimes. And also it's really important to think about your water supply. So the water supply is only any good to us if we can get access to it. So we really need to be able to get our trucks there and we need to be able to park alongside it. So having a think about that, and even if you talk to your local brigade about your situation, then they might be able to sort of give you some good advice, or they may even be able to come and have a look. And if they can't, then I can come and have a look for you. So we're quite happy to be proactive in this space rather than reactive. So how can communities be safe? They need to understand that firefighting will be secondary to evacuation. So everybody expects us to come and put it out. These major bushfires, they don't get extinguished by hoses. They get put out by weather and fire breaks and steering the fire in a direction rather than just letting it go where it wants. But there is really the rain that comes and puts them out. Early warning is key to survival on these. We want people to be aware of their environment. So communities often want fire and emergency to own the risk for them, but the reality is they own the risk. So they chose to live there. They want it to be amongst the vegetation. They have to take that into consideration and think about what the impacts of fire are to them. Collaborate with your property owners and friends. Be fire smart within your own property. So a lot of people want to say, oh, it's going to be the tourists coming in that are going to start a fire here. Well, actually, anecdotally, most of the fires are started by the activities we do on our own property. So it could be your e-car catches fire charging, or it could be a vape, or it could be someone mowing the lawns at the wrong time of the day. So it could be a house fire that starts a big wildfire. And what we're seeing commonly now, and it creates a bit of nervousness for me, is we're seeing a lot of abandoned cars get torched down sort of rural roads. And that's like having the biggest little Lucifer fire starter you can ever imagine. It's just a big fuel cell, really. So that's a really good way for a wildfire to start. So especially for councils, if you spot cars, see if you can sort of action quickly to get them off the road and get them out of there before someone comes and throws a match in them, because it's generally only a matter of time. Be prepared, have an evacuation route, have your grab bags ready, and have a plan that involves your pets and livestock. So with Pigeon Valley, the pets and livestock scenario was massive because it went through rural communities. So thinking about that to avoid tragedy, what would I do with my animals? Would I cut the gate and let them run down the road? What would I do? So just puzzling over that stuff is really important.
Do you have an answer for that? Because there'll be a lot of questions in our rural community. Do you open every single gate that you see? And then you've got terrified stock roaming Three causing possibly more of
Yeah, I know,
it.
it's tricky.
So is there an answer?
No, but what I can say is Wayne Ricketts from MPI is
Yep.
really keen to start engaging with communities. So
Mhm.
if you want to flick me an email, I can give you his contact details.
That's right. Okay.
And Wayne, that's the space he's working in.
Okay.
So he's got a particular interest in the emergency management side of animal welfare.
Because that way I know that created a lot of angst as well for the people that couldn't go back.
Yeah, and people try to get back
Mm.
when they shouldn't and stuff like that. We all care about our animals. So yeah, it does create issues. So if it's thought about pre an event, there's a much better chance that we don't get those sorts of dramas. The smoke hazard's a considerable problem in these wildfires. It's easy to think, oh, I'll just get out and leave the road, but the disorientation and can't breathe properly and the burning eyes and all that and sparks and things flying past you, it's quite terrifying. So having a really clear plan of what your options are and where you could evacuate to. And consider your neighbours. The Te Waikoropupu Springs. So you can see the area there, it's got the salmon farm next to it. So as far as your kind of, emergency or community emergency management PO, we have, the social PO, the economic PO, we have the environmental PO and the cultural PO. And pretty much every one of those gets impacted by a fire start at these springs. We've been working, we did some fire behaviour modelling on it, which really wasn't that tidy. Pretty much in the blink of an eye, it's gone. So we're really concerned about being able to get there quick enough and effective enough. There's also challenges around using fire retardants in the springs because of the contamination. There's also the tapu, we don't really want to have to dip into the springs with our monitoring buckets if we don't have to, but we've got agreement with Mana Whenua around that sort of stuff, so that's been pre-planned. But really it's about trying to make this fire not start in the first place, and it's also about if it does start, slowing it down enough that it gives us a chance to get there and do something about it. So the fire behaviour modelling for this, that's just a whole lot of blah blah, but this is kind of a summary in normal terms. So they're based at 1 hour intervals, so different phases with a fire start at 1 PM and it goes through to 5 PM. An unconstrained fire there would have a rate of spread of about 3,625 metres per hour.
Is that square metres?
No, that's linear metres. Yeah, because it'll travel in a direction. And you'd expect, so a fire head intensity of 47,000 kilowatts per metre. It's 47,000 one-bar heaters stacked on top of each other. You'd expect a flame height of at least 11 metres long, and with the current roadway width of the Waikoropupu Springs being only 12 metres, there's a 99% chance of a breach. So it'll jump the road almost certainly. A clear area of 20 metres would provide a 23% probability of a breach rather than a 99%. So that's what we're trying to aim for, is reduce our risk by 3/4. So they're suggesting that would provide 100% probability of holding a wildfire back of this intensity. So that's the good news, but bad news is it takes time and money. The total fire area in the first hour is predicted to be 243 hectares, and in the second hour, nearly 1,000 hectares consumed. I mean, that's a model, so it doesn't take into account that there isn't actually that area there in the first place. But if it was to be continuing, that's exactly what we'd do. So we wouldn't have a lot of time. We'd have to get this fire out within the first 15, 20 minutes, otherwise we're not going to get it out at all. Pretty exponential. Yeah, it is exponential. As it starts to gain momentum, it will just keep going. So when the fire's intensity is greater than 4,000 kilowatts per metre, and remember we were talking about 48,000 kilowatts, the fire is classified as extreme and the situation is explosive. It's going to provide threat to life and property. The only safe and effective control option is to indirectly attack the fire from the rear, which is slow and arduous, but we can't put people in front of it unless they're in a helicopter. And any direct attack would be considered just like spitting at a barbecue. So, putting water on it with hoses when it starts to reach that intensity just isn't going to happen.
Was this based on the vegetation types around the springs?
Yeah, and the availability of the fuel. Yeah, so the composition of it as much as anything.
Yeah.
And you'll notice out there it's quite dry. The land's really sort of quite dry and almost barreny on those sort of roadsides. So there's a hell of a lot of tinder dry material in there just ready to go. You don't need to see that. So what we're doing is we're working with Mana Whenua and the local Department of Conservation, and we're going to do the same proposal there as making a green break. Fire and Emergencies committed $2,500 just to kick it off. So we've got plants getting propagated now at the Mo'ua Nursery. And what we're trying to do is just get community engagement over it and get community interested, because you can imagine there's a lot of pūtea involved in actually getting this project right through to its fruition. We don't expect it to happen overnight, but we also see that from a community view and a sponsorship view, it's actually quite an attractive proposition because it ticks some of the boxes for organisations. So it's environmental, with the Waikato Springs now attracting one of the highest protection orders in the country, and the first one for a waterway. That adds significance and weight to what we're trying to achieve there. So what I'm really asking is if everybody can put their heads together and start thinking of options. So we want to get this up and running. We want to get the ball rolling on it, and then we want to hand it back to the community.
It is surrounded by farmland, isn't it? And so I'm just wondering, are the farmers who are surrounding it involved in this?
They will be. They will be. This is in the very early phases.
Right.
So we've only really in the last 3 weeks all agreed on the proposal and decided that that's what we're going to do. We're going to kick it off.
Right.
So now, while the plants are growing, is the time that we're going to decide where exactly we're going to. But we won't just do this in isolation. We're hoping that it's going to put a spotlight for the community, and that we can start educating and getting people, because there's some work to do around the King Salmon place too, as a workplace, because that's an obvious place if I could start. It's a
Because
big
those
industry.
farms actually butt up against the vegetation.
They do, yeah,
Yeah.
they do. So there'll be an education package around it. It'll be a bit multifaceted, but essentially the kick-off is that we just want to get a section done that's quite visible with a storyboard there, so we can engage the community, make it appealing for people to want to contribute. And that might be time. Doc has some quite good contacts for people that come and support them, so they're going to support us with that.
Can I just ask about, so when you're talking about that area, what can catch fire there? It's not just the immediate reserve, sort of the car park Springs area.
That's the one we're worried about.
And there's, because all the, when you drive up the road towards it, there's all that scrubby stuff from down at whatever bridge.
Yep.
That's
exactly the stuff we're concerned about.
And that actually runs, there's quite a quick jump across, across the river up until that scrub on the hill.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy just to think about the springs as the reserve aspect to it, but actually looking at this is a whole pile of scrub. I don't know what sort of area.
That's the bit we're interested in. So that roadway in, because that's where somebody's going to flick a cigarette out their car window before they get there. And that's where someone's going to do a burnout in their car and then set fire to it if they've nicked it, kind of thing.
We also got a whole lot of houses on the other side of the river there.
Yeah,
which
right.
is another potential, right?
Yep, definitely. Yep. So I mean, I'd hate for it to happen, touch wood, but I think we need to be prepared. And even if all this mahi, all it does is generate awareness and just help people to act a bit differently around it, that would be a positive thing. I don't really see any negatives to it. I know it's probably going to end up a costly exercise, but I also think this has got the potential to be a model for the rest of the country about how you actually go about doing some of these things and protecting some of these community assets. When you think about what the springs mean to this community, they've got a massive social po, they've got a massive economic po because all the tourists come here to see it. There's definitely a cultural po to it. So there's a lot at stake if the community loses this asset. I'm quite keen. I push these a bit, and this is just more of a plant the seed. There are technology solutions out there now that will detect a very early fire start. So the infrared and thermal and smoke detection. You can add clip-ins to them, whatever you like. There's seismic, there's weather, water, rainfall, water level rise. There's all sorts of additions you can put on it. From a fire detection point of view, it's got a 360-degree look and a 1 kilometre view. And then it sends text alerts to whoever's nominated to let them know. Once they're installed, they're relatively self-sustaining. They need the lenses cleaned every now and again. That's about it. They run off a solar panel. They can either be portable or they can stand on a fixed stationary pole. They come in at around about that 40 to 50k. And I think, although it's a lot of money, early detection is quite key in these sorts of things. And so I'm sort of just raising these with people, with communities, just to sort of, so that you know they exist and that you can keep them in mind as a solution if you ever have the opportunity.
So that's a 1K radius.
A 360 lock and a 1K view. Yeah.
Cool.
Could I just ask you about the difference in flammability of different types of vegetation?
Sure.
So where there is actually what you would call native bush, which has got, you know, broad leaves and all that kind of thing.
Podocarp forests.
Podocarp
Yeah.
and that sort of thing, not scrub, Punica scrub. What is the difference in flammability?
It's significant. So,
I mean, it's just the level of risk that people would face if they have that near to their place as opposed to that scrub.
Well, if you look at, Manuka and Karnika, they extract oil out of it, so it's got very high oil content, so it's very flammable. And pine has got oil and turpentine in it, so that's extremely flammable. And pine's also needly, so it dries out quickly and then burns very quickly.
So my gum tree.
Yeah, gum trees, yeah, that's the same. Yep, and you actually see some of these trees in a wildfire scenario actually explode.
Yeah, but the actual, so if we're talking about what we call, you know, an established bush, I'm just thinking about, you know, we've got some places where people live which are actually more in that environment. And is that a lesser risk?
Those sort of established podocarp type bush is actually quite safe. So most of the Kohirangi, for example, it's more that second generation wildland pines and your forestry.
Right. Okay.
So
So
if you go on to checkit'salright.co.nz, it's actually an extremely good website, and it's got a lot of recommendations about types of plant species you could utilise, about defensible spaces.
Right. So where you've got these broadleaves coming up around the Karnika, does that sort of help today, or the fact that the Karnika's still there as a...
If Karnika's still there, then you've got that available fuel. Yeah. But what you can do is remove the Manuka and Karnika and give some of those broadleaf a chance to establish. Yeah, that's what they've done down there. So they have a lot of that as a crystalline.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, they have quite a bit of that there. So they've found it growing naturally amongst that area. So they just give it a chance to thrive.
So that's something that these communities, I'm just thinking up Longplain Road and those communities up
Parapara
there, that's something they could actually do to start to thin out that.
And that's something they could do immediately.
Right.
So we're going to work with three communities. We're going to look at this summer here. We're going to look at Tata Beach. We're going to look at Parapara, and I can't remember the third one, but it was only just mentioned to me briefly. But there's another one we're going to look at up the Upper Tākaka Valley there. So just as far as getting in these communities, education, evacuation plans, just getting them to think about this stuff and start encouraging defensible spaces and low flammability planting.
I think Norfolk is probably one of our biggest risks. There's quite a few people living right on the edge of that forest.
That's the one that I've been told about. I think that is it.
Yeah, that's all eucalyptus. Well, not all eucalyptus.
A lot of it though.
A lot of eucalyptus and acacia.
They've started doing a green belt. Yeah.
But there's a lot of properties in Golden Bay that have. I know Kotuna, for instance. We once spec there's a someone planted a couple of thousand acacias.
Yeah, right.
It's like there are pockets of that all over the bay, not just them. Onikaka, Humphreys,
It's typical of the geography at the top of the south. You look at the Malta Sounds, Murchison, Sonata, just the list goes on.
Totara if that got, I mean, it's, bush out here, but if that got going.
We have just written a plan for Abel Tasman National Park, so we've sectorised it into 9 sections, and it's quite a comprehensive plan, a firefighting plan.
Yeah.
That's been done in conjunction with DOC as well. So there's quite a bit of work going on there, but we really rely on communities to be sort of monitoring this stuff and spreading the word. And if you see someone doing any risky behaviour, as Kaitiaki of Northern, just brave up and say, hey, it's not cool to be doing that.
Yeah.
I think Tarta and Niger Bay are probably another. It's actually quite dangerous in a way, isn't it?
Well, you look at New Year's Eve is where we get a lot of trouble, and people lighting fire. They think that you can do anything, and we had Maraho had quite a decent fire. Luckily, it wasn't wet, but it was sort of still reasonably wet, but it still took off. There was a significant fire threatening houses, and that was started by someone decided it was cool to set a parachute flare off a boat in Torrent Bay, and then flew up and floated down and started a fire. So we can't stop people being foolish, but we can just be much, much more aware of it.
So with the Pigeon Valley fire, who was actually responsible? The person responsible for that, who was just out there, just getting hacked. Did that person get?
No, unless it's sort of proved as absolute negligence. Which, we all make mistakes, and that was an honest mistake. He said he didn't intend, and he wasn't being careless. He was just going about the
I think
like a flamethrower up at the blue hole at the same time.
But you look at somebody using a grinder on a piece of machinery in a paddock somewhere, on a hot day, that would be, you'd have to consider that negligent. We do have powers under our Act to remove hazards, but it's very, very complex, and no one's been prepared to do it yet, because what constitutes a hazard? A tree in its own right is not a hazard. It's how it gets ignited is the hazard.
So as regards DOC putting up no fire signs on their own roadie, they seem to decide when the risk is.
They take the lead off us.
And they take their lead off you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they get the same notifications as everybody else, and then they make their decisions based on the information we give.
Okay, I'll just, has anyone got anything really burning, because we're quite over time.
Who can actually tell people where to go? And I mean, you say you can't do that, but in an emergency, who has the powers of moving people away?
We do, and the police.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can evacuate, and we can generate emergency text alerts. It has to be signed off by our district manager.
And is there within that space, is there a opportunity to override a consent process for removing vegetation if it is an emergency? Is there anything in that consent process?
Well, that's the hazard removal section of our Act, but like I say, it's a very complex one, and it's so contestable.
If there was a civil defence emergency declared, though, that gives civil defence
if the fire's big enough,
like
Pigeon Valley was, that would then become a declared emergency, and then if it gets declared nationally, if it's a national state of emergency, then NEMA gets involved.
Yeah, and then they can apply retrospectively for resource consent.
Yeah.
In terms of council roadside mowing, I have heard speak of it. Some of our meetings might have been a report around that, operations meeting or something at council. And I'm sure I've heard them say, we're wanting to get the roadside mowing done before the season comes in. So I think that is really on the radar over there.
I'm sure it would be, because
especially after Pigeon Valley
about it.
Yeah. So I'm confident about that. We could find out just to be reassured. But
I've got a whole list of things for our next year report, so it's been good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Very
really
welcome. Thanks for having me, Kakite, and enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank you very much.
right.
Very much.
Hello.
Appreciate that.
From fire to water.
Oh, it's the solution.
Yeah.
Questions?
Sorry, there's a lot of books here about wildfire in place, so quite good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, when you're ready.
Do you have the chocolates?
Oh, these are. Clicker. It's all good to go.
Yes,
Oh,
it's
good.
Right. So we've got Erin with us for our freshwater. Sorry, Erin, it's on my list.
Policy update.
There we go, freshwater policy up. Thank you.
Good. Right, yeah, so I'm working in the policy team and we've got some engagement coming up shortly. I just sort of wanted to highlight sort of 3 key messages. So we're calling it our land and freshwater plan change. It was part of, it's morphed from the Tasman Environment Plan. I'll talk more about that. The next round of engagement is announced to the sea, it's round 3. And that focuses on environmental outcomes, so a bit more about that. And we're not going to have any public events this time. We're just going to rely on you people to spread the room, spread the word, and everything will be on our Shape Tasman website. So the resource management reform, which the government's bringing down, has meant that our existing Tasman Resource Management Plan needs updating because we have the National Policy Statement for Freshwater in Te Mana o Te Wai. We were doing that through the Tasman Environment Plan. We were doing a whole of plan change, we were doing all the rules, but that's been put on hold because we are now going to do a joint plan with Nelson. So we're advancing priority topics, and freshwater is a priority topic, and we're going to do that through a plan change to the existing plan. So we need to give effect to Te Mana o Te Wai, that is the water, health of the water first, human needs, and then everything else. It's a new kind of way we're looking at water, and that's through the land and freshwater plan change. I'll keep saying that. So what that means is that we're going to be looking at our water quality and quantity. This is our quantity, our water allocation, and our water takes. We'll be reviewing all those. Same with our freshwater quality standards. This will affect discharge consents and new land use activity. And then there might be new rules as well, and new land use controls, and currently permitted activities may require consent if it's going to affect freshwater. So the background to all this is that that's required by the government. It's under the National Policy Statement for Freshwater. It's a process we have to follow called the National Objective Framework. There's a bunch of steps we have to follow. So the first one was identifying our freshwater management units, which we've done, and I'll talk a little bit about them on the next slide. Identifying our visions, which we've done, draft, they might still change, and our values as well. And now we're going to talk about environmental outcomes. We're going to open our engagement on the 20th of October, and it's going to go through to the end of November. We wanted to give everyone time to vote in the election, and then get them to refocus for freshwater. So this is again about our engagement. It'll be on Shape Tasman, which is on our Tasman website. It's where we do all of our consultation. And we've also got an email address there as well. Got some business cards to hand out to people. So you can take those with you. That's because it's not open now, so you can't go and see anything at the moment. And it's on the back of the business card, it's got the ways you can contact us. So it'd be great if some of the councillors and community board members can take a file with you, and if anyone's asking you about freshwater, then you can go, oh, here you go. We're also open if the community board wants us to come back and give a specific kind of workshop. We did that one time. And if you want to email us directly, you're welcome. You don't have to go onto Shape Tasman. The other thing we're asking or putting out there is if stakeholder groups such as Rosenberg or rural women want us to speak at their meeting, we'll turn up and we'll speak. But that's because we're not going out to big public occasions. And we'll do that between now and the end of November.
Will you be approaching those groups directly to say this is an offer, or you want us to reach out, or?
Yeah, we've got a stakeholder list of emails addresses, and we'll be emailing them saying we're opening our engagement shortly. If you want, we can come and talk to you one-on-one at your meetings.
And although the 20th of October, the Shape Tasman will be open for input, but there's a lot of information on there now, isn't there, that people can go and look at this.
Yep.
This kaupapa and get quite a lot of background and understanding of the process.
Yep. So that's right on our Shape Tasman website. We've got some of the old engagements still up. We've got a new portal for our environmental outcomes, and it says they're coming soon, so you won't be able to go into it, but the older portals will be open, and our visions that we've drafted will be up, and our values as well. Thank you. This is another little bit of background for people that haven't been involved, and that is our freshwater management units. So I don't know if I can. We've got two over in Golden Bay. We've got the Aorere West Coast one, and we've got the Taka one, and these are basically catchment. And then our rules will be focused on those catchments. We've got other freshwater management units throughout the district. Oh, not that one, this one. Our visions and values. So through the process, we now have identified 21 values. And those values are like fishing, Mahinga kai, threatened species. A lot of them come out of the NPSFM, what the government said we should be looking at, and some of them are our community values. So public access is one. Resilience to climate change is another one that came out quite strongly. The thing you've all noticed about our values and our environmental outcomes is they haven't had any iwi input at the moment because they're working in a parallel process to us, and they are talking to their whānau and their hapu. And we're going to get together with them in January, and we're going to weave a lot of it together then. That was the process through Te Puna Kōrero.
Yeah.
So the environmental outcomes, I can't give an example of those except that the website's going to look great. And it'll be one by one. I haven't got a slide. They'll be one by one. So you'll see fishing as a value, and then you'll see the environmental outcome, which will be stated like we want to protect native species and ensure that there's enough other species for taking for food. And then we're going to ask people, do you agree, do you not agree? And if not, what other? So we'll have an other box where you can put your comment. And there'll be 21 of those, and they'll all have that drop down. And then last slide, almost. There, last slide. So this is our engagement process. We went out with our freshwater management units, visions and values in October last year. We did some more engagement this year. Now we are almost at 20th of October. Then January, March, we're going to be working really closely with our iwi counterparts, the policy planners, the iwi. And in March, we might look at doing some optional engagement on attributes and target states. So that's where we look at our freshwater and go, here's an attribute, it's a coli, what target do we want to look at? When is that achievable by? It's more technical, it's more science-based. Then we're going to put out a draft plan, which will have track changes through our existing rules, and now we'll have new rules. And then we hope to notify in December 2024. So it's moving, and you'll get plenty of opportunities to be engaged.
And are required by then, required by 24, December 24.
Yep.
We're required to have a date. This isn't just a, oh, let's pick a date.
No, it's set down in legislation.
Yes.
The only thing that might move that deadline a little bit is if all councils in New Zealand have to have their freshwater plan changes out by then. But there's no way that the hearing will
Yeah.
be able to deal with everything at once. So the regional councils throughout all New Zealand are trying to work out a sequencing, like a rollout plan. And if that's the case, we might be able to roll out a bit later.
Yeah,
But
I understand that was a Patsy question.
Will this, sorry, this tie in with the Three Waters reforms as well?
quite separate, like this is more lakes, rivers and streams.
Yeah, I
Streams
just
is more your pipes.
thinking that like water takes in irrigation, are just some schemes in Golden Bay, it's very much integrated. They take water from streams, lakes, it's their water supply.
Yep.
Yeah, there might be some crossover there.
Yeah, so rules for allocation and water take, even the council and their water supply have to abide by the rules and own plan.
Yeah.
So if it's a community water take for drinking water, they'll have to abide by the rules we put in place. And those will be fresh water first, but like the priority is the quality. And if we have to ration water for human drinking need, we might have to do that. That's the second priority. And the third is, irrigating crops.
Yeah.
Obviously, root stock, that's really important through the drive of the task force. But it'll be some serious thinking.
Through the chair, this might be a silly question, but the potential a potential change of government, is this likely to change this at the moment?
I think freshwater reform is well embedded. I mean, this started out under national, and I think because we're so far down the track, I don't see it.
That's good. And the other quick question I did have is dropping 1080 into the water in any of these catchments, is that going to have an effect? Because obviously, yeah. So does that come into this?
I think it's really important to raise that because we haven't. That's not on my radar.
Oh.
So I'm going to take that back to my team.
Okay.
Yeah.
But 1080 doesn't stay.
No, but
It
we
doesn't
think it's
contaminate water. That's all. That is, no scientific effect. It does not contaminate water. So that shouldn't be an issue.
Council issues the consents for the drop-in of it. And so those consents are, guided by the rules.
Yeah. So if those rules change, like if they, for example, if we want to grow the setback distance, or maybe different times a year, or
What do you think what do you think about the joint plan with Nelson in terms of we're going to end up with so we're doing our plan change, but in terms of the joint plan with Nelson, that a very different sort of area to us. They've got 400 square kilometres in their city or whatever, and we've got 50,000 square kilometres. And our sort of, in terms of rivers and streams and catchments and national parks, and we're a whole different ball game, aren't we? And how this gets, so working on this, and then the joint plan is going to happen at another point. How does that link up?
Well, at the moment, we're working with other policy planners from Nelson and from Marlborough to get some similar content or similarity if we can. So we're trying to do our visions in a similar way, and we're trying to look at our values as well. But I think originally we were trying to work quite closely with Nelson, but because we've both got this time frame coming up, and then we've got a longer time frame to combine our plan, it might take even 8-10 years before we see a combined Nelson plan, and then it'll be another chance to have another bite of the cherry. So we're just trying to meet our plan obligations now, and then we'll relook at that, because that is not might get affected by the government. If the government changes, they might not progress the Natural Built Environment Act, which requires us to combine our plans.
And in terms of the WCO, so our plan is to take account of that, or What's the language? You know,
Give effect.
give effect to it.
Yeah.
So what's the process whereby we doing that or going to do that? So
We're going to have an action plan for the Waikato Pupu Springs because we've already got a nitrate target for that, which has been set in legislation under the Water Conservation Order. But a water conservation order can't make rules for what people do on land. It's really focused on the groundwater, and we can't do it with groundwater. So through our plan, we can have a wider scope and bring in more targeted rules on things like fertiliser, setbacks of waterways, things that the Water Conservation Order can't do. And that will be for the Tākaka Freshwater Management Unit. It might not apply everywhere wholes bolus over.
Yeah.
That's why I've got the freshwater management units. It's a catchment by catchment. Because, you know, the problem in Waimea is also nitrates as well. So we're wanting to have those more kind of bespoke rules. And there might be additional topics or chapters.
Yeah. So as this is getting progressed up to the end of next year, whatever needs to happen to give effect to the WCO will be woven through it happening.
Yeah.
And just noting the flag, you know, the flag process, and the flag had 34 recommendations in it.
Yeah.
And didn't land on an agreed place with them, but the WCO has accepted all those recommendations.
Yeah.
So it's just good to know that. I think that our local collaborative group that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, it took a long time, you know. A lot of effort, a lot of volunteers on that, like years of effort. It's just gratifying, I think, and important for us to realise that wasn't wasted work and effort, and that's, you know, filtering through, excuse the pun, into all of this. Yeah. So in terms of framing where the flag sits in terms of informing this, what would you say?
Yeah, I guess the flag didn't go into all the visions and values stuff, that front end, but it's more out the recommendations, and they will go into rules, how we write the rules, and also there'll be a non-regulatory side of how we do things. So it might be we have a funding grant to help farmers fence their waterways that haven't done it already. So there'll be those two.
Any more questions for you?
It's nice having you in the office here, that you're now in this role. It's great that you're here in our little patch.
Yeah.
And given that, you know, I mean, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Thanks, Erin. Appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Yep, do take, you know,
Oh, yes.
Ten
Put those for you up there.
10 or so cards each.
Oh.
Yeah, and around to people that are interested.
One on each book.
Yeah,
Thanks, Erin.
I'll put half a dozen on each book.
Yeah.
Thanks, Erin.
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to our chair's report. So there's a few things in here. Public forum, there's no action required from September to public forum items. The joint community board.
Sorry, he did ask a question though.
Who did?
Walking access around Collingwood Township. He asked us a question. if
Yeah,
we would help.
that's been answered. It's
Okay,
time
that's fine.
for him. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Council can't impose
Yeah, okay.
on
But are we going to answer
leaseholders
his
that
question?
they provide access to land.
He asked us specifically the question though. Any minutes? He did.
Oh, did I miss it? What did he ask?
He asked us if we would help facilitate the ability to get around Collingwood.
You can't.
No, I know,
I
but
think
he
it's a
he asked
simple
us, so
answer.
yeah,
Yeah.
we need to reply to him. That's all.
Yeah, he's asking about the road.
No, it's
Well, walking through
the
the camp.
No, he wants to walk. He wants to be able to walk a whole
Yeah.
loop around Collingwood, which includes going through private land.
Yeah.
And
He
lease
wants us
and
to-
Yeah,
tough.
the camp's not private.
No, he can walk through there, but he wants to be able to walk through the tennis club and right round that loop.
But the properties, they're pretty estuary, but it's not private. At the
Oh,
edge.
Okay.
They are, but
That's the
it's
issue.
too difficult. It's, I mean, we just have to question how difficult that is to progress there, but, yeah, that is,
Yeah,
that's the
Because I thought he was
situation.
talking about the tennis club as well with the fence that they locked the fence and maybe we should clarify with him exactly the route he wants to take and then
Yeah.
break it down. Does somebody want to do that?
Giving him an answer would be kind of,
Does someone want to do
Because
that?
we've made some progress on this because we've actually got, there is now some road marking along the main road opposite the Miller's garage there. So there are car parks and then there's a walkway and that's been put in, you know, that's been road marking, so that's happened. And then I think the issue of actually being able to walk around the perimeter of the camp is another thing. That goes, you know, onto that. The accreted land would be going onto accreted land and then walking around the very perimeter of the camp.
Through the Eland.
Yep.
Yeah, through the iwi land and through the council camp and then around onto where the boat launch is. And then there are those properties, which is another kind of section, which is quite difficult.
I feel like there's been a really comprehensive sort of response given to this in the past.
Yeah.
Who was that through? Was there a Parks and Recs team or?
I feel like Lynn had
Yeah,
something to
I don't know that the
just keep
that
that.
we've progressed the enterprise through the enterprise
Right.
completely with camp part of it. You know, we've achieved.
What I'm
along
asking,
the highway, the road, but just around the edge of the camp where, you know, there's, I know the camp things can go right up.
Right. But you're wanting to have an answer.
I just think we should give that answer then. That's the case. We've explained it in detail in the past. This is referred to this email, blah, blah, blah.
I just, yeah. Just
You know?
oh, no, I'm not saying no, but I think if there's been a comprehensive response given, I think.
Yeah.
And we just need to find that and,
Check
remember what it
that.
is and line up if there's a piece missing.
Yep.
Nice.
Okay. Well, I can do that just when she's back.
Yeah, that's
Perfect.
good.
So the joint special funding policy, so that was a good workshop in March. There are handouts and there's a recorded PowerPoint if you wish to sit and watch that.
I would love to. It's
Then
worth
they
it. It's worth
followed
it.
up with a representation review. So that was good. So once that is the special funding policy has gone to council and it's been all finalised, they've gone away, they're going to bring it back with some bits and pieces added and changed. We will have a sort of a procedure for how we want to run our special projects, then we'll go from there. The Mahua Social Services lease agreement. So Cam, I'm looking to you for this one. Do we need a resolution or can we just leave that wording as it is? The board strongly support the work that Mahua Social Services do and would be grateful to see a resolution.
I just think leave it as it is, Abby, because that's matters in hand. I think they're just fine tuning where they need to get to on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Thanks, Cam. Ferntown Bridge. The board's received feedback regarding the bridge to change the one-way direction. So I've spoken to Robert Dick about that and we have been advised of the following. I'm not sure if the board wish to go back to Robert and say if we disagree.
Helpful to get a bit of data, isn't it? Actually.
Useful.
Interesting.
Have you passed this on to Sheriff?
I have.
Yeah.
He did not agree.
Well, I think Robert Dick's come back with crash history, and I'm not expecting many crashes on that bridge.
No.
It's not about that. It's more just about which approach to that bridge is best.
Yeah.
Neither.
He
The
has
answer is
said
neither.
very both ways is very poor sight lines,
Yes.
and he doesn't feel that changing the direction would improve safety and efficiency. But as a board, we can go back to him and say if we disagree, we'd like a
more comprehensive report, I would hesitate to do that.
Yeah, but do we disagree? Or is it
I don't-
one half doesn't the other? That's the question. isn't it?
I'm not inclined to disagree with it.
But the staff
Transport
engineer report,
and their
exactly.
job is to look at road safety,
Mm.
sight lines and measure things out, and sometimes our sort of local knowledge is, because they'll actually be watching, this is what happened, so. I just don't want us to be in the business of giving our opinion around things where staff
Yes,
who are
we've
qualified
asked
in
his
the area
opinion.
have given an assessment to say, here's the actual accidents that are happening. It's a pain either way.
That is bad either way.
Great that they've noted could go in the traffic light list, but way down the
Yeah.
list, so at least it's not like it's invisible to them as a problem.
Yeah.
Can't we just find ways locally to deal with it? You can sort of tell if someone's gonna, you both get on at the either end of the bridge at the same Joe will know more about this, but it's a bit of like bull rush, isn't it? And if you get on there first to sort of
Across the
get
center
on.
point first.
Most people are very polite. It's never really an issue.
No, it's
Although
not.
I hardly ever get off the bridge at the same time. You can
Yeah.
always.
It's
check
not a
that.
busy bridge.
The bridge, there's a few bridges further down, towards that.
The Royal Tanaka.
Where they changed the priority, which is fine, but some people still.
Oh, yes, there has been a
Changing the
change.
priority, I think, is.
It's tricky.
So if we
is
change
really
the priority,
yeah.
So if we change the priority as the Areri Bridge, it's confused people too, so.
Yeah.
It's the
Yes, that's
status quo.
Yeah.
Okay, so the board's,
Yeah.
the board's happy with that response?
Yeah.
We'll
Henry?
support you. People will support you on that one.
All right, I'll let Sheriff know.
What was your opinion?
No. Congratulations to the council on the adoption of the Maori board. There's been a request for a secondary prize giving sponsorship. Jess has very kindly added in what we did last year. So we gave $100 to Collingwood and 100 to Golden Bay. And that forms part of the resolution at the end. Has anyone got any comment they'd like? Anything, I wonder? Are you happy to support that? $100 for the prize givings?
Yeah.
Cool.
Have we worked out who's going to them?
They haven't
Yeah.
invited us yet.
We have had,
Oh, you have?
through Robin, we've been asked, so
Okay.
that Godra High School.
I
so I've
haven't-
been
I haven't
times
seen
that
it, sorry.
Sam's gonna go this time. In terms of Collingwood Area School, I wasn't sure if something had come through, formally
No.
through Robin yet or not.
I haven't seen anything. Sorry.
I'll be going to Golden High School one anyway, but I think
Oh,
That'd be great.
there we go.
Cool.
They're great, aren't they?
Yes, they quite often are, most
Yeah.
of the time, yeah. That's good call, thanks, Chris. And the action sheet. So on the action sheet is the generate and distribute wedding special projects fund, so that's ongoing. That could actually come off until we have our, or we can leave it on as ongoing until we have our actual policy in place. Staff report from the finance team's included. That's the generate wording again. Not really sure. Yeah, and the joint community policy is in place. We're just waiting to hear back. Did you have any? There's a few actions missing off that sheet actually, quite a few.
Yeah.
I thought so too.
Did you have any luck with the village green committee getting hold of the?
I will follow them up.
Because I had the wrong email address, so they were never going to respond to me, but that's okay. Were there any other actions outstanding from anyone?
It's not from, it wasn't an action, but I just wondered about the Tāpika to Pahawa cycleway and the standards.
yeah.
We're leaving that on as
Yeah.
an ongoing issue.
The what, sorry?
The Tāpika to,
Oh, the stand, Chris was following it, weren't you? Yes.
Yeah, so I'm following up with Robert Deb, and he had just been over, so when he's over next, I'm gonna walk through some
Great.
areas of it with him, and I see that in some of those, was it Sunbelt Pleasant, some of those big dippy, puddly bits, some extra stuff has gone in there, but it hasn't solved the problem, so I've taken some photos to show him when it rained. And so, did I mention here that when you come along Maihana towards Fonterra, you get on the footpath opposite, the Fonterra, and then there's the drive into the Fonterra staff car park, and it all just stops. And so just asked if we can find a way to get something just to carry it through the intersection, because it just goes into grass and up in the scrub, and so he thought of like the Motopaki Street footpath when that happens. Probably shouldn't say it out loud, but there might be a way to sort of assist with the other part too. So still ongoing. In terms of that, there was a spray along it, and I did ask about levels of service, so contracts around, is there a certain, often with these things, there's a certain standard that needs to be maintained, that's in the contract with the contractors, so they have to keep it to that. But with the park, it's $35,000 a year is set aside for its maintenance. And I think in the first year or so, the first time it was mowed, public, probably not to be available, but so the first year it cost $20,000 of that was used on doing the hedge along from Motopaki Bridge toward Hursts, and each year or each year or each shot it's done, it's about $10,000. So it's actually it's a really small putia actually for the maintenance of the road.
That's a big difference.
Can we put that into the long-term plan, a budget change for that? So
We could try and do that.
Yeah. Just.
We're in austerity measures, so I'm not sure.
I know, but we want people to use these things. Otherwise, it's a completely useless asset.
Yeah, and that's been a priority. Looking at LTP's a huge challenge in terms of costs. So priority for all councillors was maintaining what we have already. So.
I mean, where else do we ask for it? Where else do we go? When do we go? In any other case, to get say 50 grand a year instead of 30. Obviously we through the LTP.
Interesting point. Okay, well, I am happy to move that the chair report be accepted and we approve the sponsorship of $100 from the Golden Bay Community Board discretionary fund to Collingwood Area School, and we approve the sponsorship of $100 from the Golden Bay Community discretionary fund to Golden Bay High School. Can I have a seconder, please? Excellent. Seconded by Henry. All those in favour? Aye. Lovely. Board report done. Financial report. Happy to take that as read if everybody is happy.
I read it
Good.
and I was like, I still haven't updated the discretionary fund.
No, Mike is coming over. That was the email I sent round asking if you're okay to have that presentation after the November meeting. He couldn't come on Friday, so he'll come next meeting and we'll do a quick update and then it'll all be good to go. Okay, well that actually brings us to the end. Oh, sorry. Do we need to move?
Move to second to receive.
Yes, we do. Sorry. Right, moved by Grant, seconded by Robert. All those in favour? Aye. Chris, before we close.
Yes, it's great to hear from our guests here today.
Yes.
Just to have a check-in, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't the best meeting involving you guys, sorry.
Well, we don't really have much to say on behalf of the Tasmanian Council. We kind of just in the middle of some things at the moment, but you guys wanting to know like our thoughts on something? Yeah. I was going to say earlier in terms of like the fire department thingy, maybe it would be interesting to have them come into schools or something, just to have a chat to them.
Great idea.
In terms of other things.
I'm just looking at Henry because that would be a good thing to
So
link them in. Darren.
get in touch with him and see.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah.
good.
Maybe
He's
you'll
more
say
than happy.
yeah,
to-
yeah.
All that information would be great for
Yep.
kids.
Absolutely.
So
someone's gonna do that.
Be great. Yeah, well, I can get the information for Darren to you.
Yeah,
Right.
if I get his
Well-
email address.
Yeah.
Darren's available for those type of presentations.
Yeah.
And others as well.
Where is he based?
He's Nelson based, I believe. But he's happy to come over.
Yeah.
And do presentations in part because for them, for the fire brigade, being on the fire brigade.
Yeah.
It's all about raising awareness because if that reduces the risk.
Yeah.
That reduces, the
Mm.
costs of having to put out a fire.
So,
Yeah, totally.
so we, I mean, obviously, actually get in touch with the school and work out a time.
Yeah. Just some sort of like presentation, I think, because then that can kind of reach to parents as well.
Yeah.
If they don't hear much about like what.
Right.
or something.
Yeah.
Mm.
Kids go home and say, oh God, look at that gourd.
Yeah.
You know, that's too close to the house.
Do you know what'll happen then? Here's a thing, go and clear it.
The community, that community evacuation plan was the other thing which kind of fits with that too. I mean, is there some way of getting some sort of I don't know, a community event or a workshop of some sort for people
Yeah.
to. I mean, and like you said, it fits in so snugly with the civil defence one too. You know? So kind of a shame they didn't both come together. It would have been really good. But yeah, are we? Is it up to us to help facilitate that to happen?
Yep, I think what I've got is a whole spread of notes and then we'll go into the next year report for the plan of how we can engage our community.
I think the sustainability Golden Bay Hui over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday down at the gardens. After Barbara's speaking down there on the Sunday morning, actually, I was just speaking with some people who were sitting behind me and talking about the next stage of being able to have conversations around sort of like a high level, letting the community know around the change at the governmental level and legislative level around all of land security is really focused, but what the conversation went to what are we going to do? What are we going to do in our homes and on our properties if we have another big event? So we've had big events here. But if you think about that, we could have an event like they've had up the East Coast, like completely destructive and enormously impactful here. What the people, so we've heard from civil defence, that you have 3 days or something of being able to cope on your own. But I think there's a want out there among some in the community to be able to get together with, say that Tata and Liger, and get together with experts or
Would be a
people
really great
and have events where actually what is the plan in terms of so this fire that Darren's talking about, but actually if they do get cut off, all the water supplies are gone, some houses could be gone, like just, it's awful to think about, but that's the reality of what we need to have communities prepared to, so we can all have our things of water in the cupboard and, but in terms of
I think
working something out in that sort of neighbourhood.
I think that's a really good idea, actually, Chris. Sorry, I'm just writing down as you say, to have it in the communities.
Yes, and I think that, think about East Takaka, I mean, there's a lot of experience in these communities and they'll know, they've got a road out and a road in, haven't they? But it's pretty easy to have some pretty big slips and they're gone, so I'm thinking about each little area. I've been thinking about it since our conversation, Grant, but also been at the Hui around, and I think I'd love the board just to be leading some things, and you can bring the experts in and we need them, but for us to front foot this and make a plan with support, make a plan to approach communities, the settlements, what do you need? And I mean, Darren's doing that in terms of fire at Parapara and Tata but I think there's a whole linking of our civil defence. See, I think some people still don't know what we stand up in the fire station in terms of that whole unit that just goes up And so in that last big event here, it was really, you know, I was posting things to let people know.
Yeah.
Because I think actually, because we don't get our own, we're not, information isn't posted just Golden Bay centric.
Yeah.
But it's something that I feel like we have a role in to lead and sort of facilitate, you know, and how we might do that. It'd be a number of ways, but I'd love us to pick it up and actually make something be
It
happening.
would be great. I know that CJ is very keen to get into all the forms as well. And have a community meeting within, you know, at each hall and settlement and have a place and have a list of what's useful, what we could do. So that might really tie in really as well.
It would be a combined thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you have a whole welfare aspect. And
Yeah,
you have
and
the,
then you have the practical one.
you have the
Yeah.
matter that hasn't been canvassed so much about when the fibre got cut up at your place.
Yes.
You know, the thing that wasn't noted really, I think, in that was actually a whole lot of people, probably most, could not contact 111.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's a huge issue that doesn't, so I've raised it at council and
We were told the 111 was still operational.
well, for some people it wasn't. The cell tower goes out,
Well,
they,
that's what I couldn't work out.
they-
How you could use your, could you call 111, but you couldn't use your
They
phone.
can't.
Like I understand how that works.
yeah, so when Birds Hill went out, people were all out that way, couldn't use 111, they couldn't contact them, even on their landlines.
Well, that's not
So in bringing this up at a recent council meeting, so many meetings. Who was there? And oh my goodness, someone was presenting to us about something, and I brought this up. Oh, it was Joe Kennedy from Emergency Management came in and did a presentation to us. And I let him know, so I know that I went to Janine when it happened at Birds Hill, who put it into the resilience portfolio with Joe and them. But it's still something that's, we didn't know what the solution would be. What Joe said was that actually there are submissions up until November. What was that on, Kim? Do you remember what it was on? It was to do, he said we could submit to, it'd be good if in the legislation there was some responsibility on these infrastructure providers that they have to do more than that. Just have one option, you know. I'll look, I can find out what that legislation is.
Yeah,
that's
and
up,
I know we
but-
raised it with Joe in October when he came and presented in Collingwood.
Yeah. In terms of what you're suggesting about the board leading some part of a process around the community on this, and I really like the idea. Maybe we need to workshop with CJ and maybe a few other keynote Wolfie, etc., and just so that we can help that work out how we can do that.
Would be the local controller, I
Yeah.
think, that we need to bring in.
Sure.
So that's Durham.
Yep.
That's his name.
No, Durham?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's, Mahana, so Durham, welfare, I think through CJ.
Yeah. I think we'd
there'll be
start
other
there
aspects.
Yeah.
and look at what we wanted it to look like and then pull in the other people. Maybe.
What do the halls need? What have
Yeah.
they got? What are their water supplies?
Yeah, and then look at each settlement.
And maybe they say that we're all good, we're all friends, we help each other out.
Cool.
Go and read a bit of legislation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Cool, all right, well,
Yeah.
that'll form a big part of the chair report for next month too.
Yeah. I think communication is a big thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because even with that cable cut, it wasn't major, but people had no idea what was
Yeah.
going on. They had no information, no way of getting information.
Knowing in their neighbourhood who's got Starlink is helpful.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
being able to work out how to do Wi-Fi calls, it's sort of beyond me at the moment, but you know that. So there's been an ask for the Starlink thing that was purchased for here and emergency management. There's been an ask for that at Collingwood. I don't know whether they have it or not, but I think in civil defence, I think it might be that we meet with the local controller
Yeah.
and maybe
Yeah,
Joe, I'm not
yeah.
sure, and just work out what they've done,
Yeah.
what
so
they
that-
think
and
could
then
be
we'll-
done. get a plan.
Yeah, and then go from there.
Informed plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I can talk, I'm happy to talk to Darren and start that conversation. See if anyone else wants to jump on.
We just workshop it here one day, you know, just,
I'll talk to Darren.
Take out.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
and the other thing is I think we need a second line in somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's something we could talk about.
It's interesting what people work out, isn't it? Because when Birds Hill went out, I was really fortunate people who live in Cargo have driven up to the lookout.
Yeah.
Because people had driven around to get reception and they worked out, and there was a whole bunch of people,
Yeah.
a lot of people up there. They were ringing and they could get out sometimes. So needs must.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about anything? Or do you know?
I think it's good.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great. For like the little communities and the resources,
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
I think it helps remind us connect in with those that live near us. I'll just
Yeah.
describe things. I think about the people that live right near us, like a bit of a way, we're right in the middle of like big trees, 2 homes. You know, but just getting out.
Yeah.
Bush, you did say that the main bush is not so chemical.
Yeah.
Plenty of scrub. My maneuvers.
It's the scrub and
Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna have to unplant my maneuvers. Front of something else. Okay, all of the, that's been a good meeting. Is there anyone got anything?
I'm still interested in anything to youth council, just about what you're sort of picking up or a bit early.
We are kind of still in the middle of, we've gone to Collingwood Area School and gone by high school for kind of what they kind of want in schools. And we're trying to organise with the kind of home schoolers what they're doing. So I know we've got a bit of notes on that and kind of some things we're going to start implicating into the schools a little bit more. I mean, that's later on in the year. But we're just trying to get schools. I don't think anyone's communicating with us much about that. No, not really. So they're a bit off the grid, but yeah, we're kind of still in the middle of that. So we would hope to like maybe let you guys know if there's anything you guys could help out with once we've kind of come up with a plan. So not totally.
I know that in Motueka, the youth council was quite active about 5 years ago, and they were instigational in getting the new skate park out. And so it was actually led by them. And you know, now that they've got a great new skate park. So that's the sort of thing that, you know, we'd love to hear from you if that was kind of some of the options that you were looking at, because there is a feasibility study going to happen for a new one here. So you know, we'd rather have your input than a whole little bunch of grey hairs trying to figure out what they want. You know? I don't skate.
Yeah, totally. Well, we've got a meeting coming up soon, so we'll be able to discuss with that. Yeah.
And you're the red banana. Yeah, cool.
No.
That's good. Nice. Good. Lovely having you here.
And thanks for having us. I'm also please forgive me for not talking
And you know that you can contact Abby, you know, our head of meetings. And I don't know whether your reports
or Henry.
But I'm just thinking about, you know, you can turn up on the day and there's a report here to read, but being able to make sure that if you're coming, that you've got a report to go through before you come. I think that's a good.
Yeah, we discussed that with. The last year,
Cheers.
no, not cheese. One of those guys. One of the Lisa. Oh, I can't remember. It's terrible. Anyway, it'll come to me at 2 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, just there's also Karen.
Yeah, that was a youth person. That's good. All right. I will pass over to Chris. Do you mind closing currently, Chris? And Robert.
He karakia tātou, kia hora te marino, kia whakapapa paunanu te moana, aroha atu, aroha mai, tēnā tātou, tēnā tātou, tēnā tātou katoa. Let calm go forth, the sea shines like a greenstone, which I think it might be today. Goodwill has been exchanged, acknowledgements to you, me and everybody here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks everybody.